And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, welcome back, everyone. What's happening, Joe Tillman? How are you?
Man, I've been locked in this office for like the past 6 weeks waiting for us to go live. It's like, where you been?
Yeah.
Christmas in here.
How about we get rid of the fake news situation?
Oh, man, it has been crazy, but so good to be back.
It's good to be back. Happy New Year, everyone. This is The Bald Truth. We are live. I'm live from Los Angeles. Joe Tillman is live from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is the Hair Loss Show. Been doing this little broadcast for a little over 24 years. And there's probably some of you guys online who are watching on Joe Tillman's hair transplant channel wondering, why the fuck don't we have 100,000 live viewers right now? And I will tell you, the reason why for you new guys is I have chosen to keep the bald truth relatively close to my vest since I got off the radio for various reasons, including all of the nonsense and bullshit that you have to deal with when you put yourself out there in this industry. However, 2022 is changing. I've made a decision that we are going to put this out there in a larger way. I'm currently working out a situation with a particular company that will actually syndicate the program in at least audio form, probably some degree of video, depending on what we decide to do with Joe's channel and elsewhere. So I guess I have to get ready to take a lot more shit again, like I did back when I was, I guess, pre-2008.
Yeah.
When I was considering retirement back then. But, you know, but the internet has gotten so bad, things have gotten so really insane in this industry that, you know, we have no choice. I've been talking about this for a while, probably the last 2 years, that we're going to make this happen. Mm-hmm. And I have, for lack of a better term, kind of punked out on the situation because I really didn't want to deal with the bullshit. I was just like, you know what? My life is good. Things are good. The 1,000 or so people that may view the program on a weekly basis, or 2,000, you know, whatever on Joe's channel, they're all being helped. But, you know, once you go back in there to create even more damage in the industry, as far as providing truth, your life becomes more difficult. And I just didn't really want that at this stage of my life. I do a lot on, you know, the back end of the industry. We educate a lot of physicians. We are doing a very special broadcast this year for, I don't want to get too specific, but, you know, that's going to help a lot of physicians in their educational journey in this field. I got a lot of shit going on that kind of gives me a very satisfactory life, and satisfactory in the sense that, you know, I feel like I'm doing a lot of good. But shit, man, the door is wide open in 2022, and things are getting nuttier than ever. So why the fuck not give it one last hurrah and fuck some people up?
I like that idea. I mean, it's there's I don't know. There's something about 2022. It seems more hopeful for me than in the past, as far as like New Year's go, New Year's, whatever. And I don't know. I'm kind of motivated myself. Like I'm starting to record a lot more. Like I rearranged my studio so it's more convenient for me, because before, you know, even before after we moved into this new space, I still had to set things up, the green screen and the lights and the cameras. Not so much anymore. I rearrange it to where my green screen is permanent on this far wall over here. The lights are only moved around for the show once a week. But I think, I need to get more information out to the masses so that it gets more eyeballs on us as part of my contribution to this, and also doing more to promote the show on the channel itself, because a lot of people they'll find my videos and based on the statistics, YouTube recommendations, and so they don't know that the show exists. So I'm going to start pushing that more, and I just think it's time that we be more proactive on this, and I'm excited. There's already a lot of good feedback.
Here, the problem is this. The show reaches enough people to satisfy certain goals and needs for what I do. And, it keeps everything rolling in a way that has been very satisfactory, again, for my life. But, as I see what's happening on Instagram and people are contacting me privately through Instagram, and I don't have time to get back to them. I only have less than 3,000 followers on there, but it's every day somebody's trying to connect to me with, they've been fucked up here, or what do I think about this, or what do I think about that? And it first started off just kind of being drip feeding in. And now, and I barely go on Instagram, and I turn off all of my notifications, by the way, and now I go in and I look at requests. There's 200 requests, 250 requests from people who are not connected to me. I don't even know how that works, actually. But I guess you have to follow them in order for them to contact you directly, something like that. And requests, and it's just I had this one guy who I just read it, and I read these things late sometimes. And if you're listening, caller, just to give you a little idea, or maybe a little help here, guy has a hair transplant. Apparently, he has 2 atomizers on his, bathroom counter. One is full of saline solution, and one is full of 99% alcohol. The exact same atomizer, exact same spray bottle. The guy goes into his bathroom, decides to spray his head, post-transplant, and he sprays his head. I don't mean to laugh at you, man. He sprays his head with the fucking alcohol. And now he's worried if he, harmed his grafts. Now, honestly, if he only did it once, there's a good chance that all the grafts will survive. And I know that this guy wrote me months ago because I just looked at this the other day. And I'm sorry for this because I just can't answer everybody through Instagram. But these are the type of things that are happening. So this guy, post-transplant, decides to spray his fucking head with 99% or 91% isopropyl alcohol and saline solution. And yes, if he would have continued that and not noticed that that's what he did and saturated that several times over, he absolutely could have damaged those fresh grafts. But one time, it's very unlikely, especially if the grafts were inserted correctly, they weren't really too raised off the scalp. You're not going to kill that tissue. But
how many days post-op was he?
I think he was 2 days or 3 days. It was pretty close to the surgery.
He's okay.
But yes, I would say he's okay too. If it was the night of, there could have been some death. But even the night of, it's probably not going to permanently damage every graft. He may have killed 1 or 2. That's the kind of shit.
The guy, because I imagine him realizing what he just did. It's like, shh, fuck.
Yeah, it's like when I brush my teeth with Preparation H. That was fucked up.
Did your mouth kind of tighten up a little bit though?
Oh, dude, I looked really young.
Duck face?
Yeah, I had duck face, the whole thing. No, but so listen, this is what's happening, and then I'm being pulled from all directions. The Global Hair Loss Summit, all the educational aspects of things where so many doctors are contacting us from around the world. It is a situation where I have to make a decision. I'm going into my 57th year, and my decision could be, right off into the sunset, or just keep doing what I'm doing behind the scenes and keep the little show going with Joe and have fun, enjoy taking the calls and keeping it tight, or turning it in what it should be turned into. Now, I'm not going to tell you who this person is, but there's a person who moved into where I am right now, where my studio is right now, who has like one of the top podcasts in the world. And this person, one of the advertisers, is someone that cites our, stats from the American Hair Loss Association. And we see each other. He's getting into his car. I'm going outside to, do a little debauchery. And we have a brief conversation. You there, Joe? Everything okay?
I'm here. I'm trying to keep talking. I'm listening. I'm trying to.
What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera on me when you start to do that shit, so that you appear to be, engaged. When you appear to be engaged with the rest of the program. Yeah. Like make believe like we're actually doing a show here that is of value and of some importance to you. But
I'll try.
Long story short, I mean, what I can say is, after the conversation with this person, it kind of got me a little bit more motivated because this person has a very big podcast and they're just like, listen, man, what you guys are doing is so good. You need to get it out there more. So that's my gift. My promise, and I think gift to people who are going to really need this now in 2022. We are going to make it happen. And, at this point, Joe, sorry, it cannot just be on your channel. We're going to have to really get it out there in the way that it can be and the opportunities that we have. So as soon as you get off your phone, I'm going to put the cameras on both of us. And that's going to be that's a resolution this year. Joe is going to make believe that he's totally engaged with the show and not multitasking.
This is for the show.
But I don't think all right, I'm going to tell you something. I don't think I ever told you this. Maybe I did.
Uh-huh.
I had a guy that contacted me through Instagram. True story, swear to God. And he actually said,
I know what you're going to say.
That Joe appears to be distracted many times.
Disinterested.
Not disinterested. The word was distracted during the program, and that it made him feel like there was a lack of interest. And I'm just like, well, listen, Joe is just trying to, multitask. People are contacting him. That's the way that it is. But I think this year what we're going to do is we're going to do this program. If someone tries to contact us online, fuck them. This is a show.
You heard it here first, people, so don't try to contact us during the show. Fuck off.
Call us.
We got to do the show.
Listen, call us.
Exactly.
The phone number is 888-659-3727. Now, as soon as I said call us, the two lines that were lit just dropped off. Here's another one that just lit up. 888-659-3727. Again, this is a call-in show, guys. We're here to answer your questions. And 2022 is going to be the year of the bald truth because, honestly, man, as I say every year, this industry is falling apart. It is worse than ever. And what's happening on fucking TikTok is insane. There's a doctor. Forget about TikTok. I've been on YouTube. It's a doctor that has been in the saddle for less than 2 years. That is now one of the most watched physicians in the field of hair transplant surgery ever on YouTube. Huge following. Recently got verified. Nice guy, but I got to tell you, and there's a terrible. This is nothing against this person. The level of time on tissue is minimal. The guy has not been performing hair transplant surgery long enough to see all of the complications that most of the true experts have forgotten about.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I think that there's potential for him as a surgeon in this space. If he were to dedicate his practice to it, I think that he could be I think he could be really good. Getting that experience, getting that time on tissue. Unfortunately, the reason why he's so popular is because he's hired a really good marketing team, social media team. Like, these guys are good, and good for him.
But I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear, Joe, that I don't think that this guy's doing anything untoward or that he's bad at what he does. It doesn't mean that, and it doesn't mean that he couldn't be a part of the IHRS. I mean, he was trained under a physician who's well respected, but there's a certain nuance that just isn't quite there yet when I see even the reaction videos that are being done that someone who had more time in the saddle would be able to get out there to the audience. So to me, it's just important that consumers understand that just because someone has a really big following, it doesn't mean they have the experience that they need to give you what you need. It doesn't mean that they're bad at what they do. Some people just have really good hands and they're fast learners. But these are all things that you need to put into the equation when you're making your decision to have hair transplant surgery. Let's take this phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Spencer, it's Adrian. I'm calling from Melbourne. How are you, buddy?
Oh, hey, what's happening, Adrian?
Hey, well,
Adrian, yeah.
Hey, Joe.
Happy New Year, my man.
Good, buddy.
And you too, Spence. And you too, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm at the airport. I'm getting a PCR test, and I'm probably the last person you would ever hear say this, but I'm getting a hair transplant.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
All right.
Yeah,
we need to talk about this.
I know I'm not the only one.
Say that again. What is that?
I know I'm not the only one. I think there's something in the water in terms of your callers.
Well, it's interesting because you know, from what I remember, you lived an entire life. You had didn't you have bad work? Then you were wearing a hairpiece, or you were wearing a hairpiece, and then you decided. Yeah. Tell your story.
I had plugs back in '85. A year later, I was having them taken out by a plastic surgeon over several procedures, excising them out in a strip-like manner along the hairline. Then around 25, I got a hairpiece. We had a hair party. To be honest, I'm 50. I just turned 55, so by the age of 40, I really wanted to shave my head.
Did you say you turned 55 just now?
Just, yeah. I'm 55.
Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Well, it's a little closer to 60 than 50, so I try and forget it. But anyway.
Look, man, 55 is the new 54, so don't worry about
it. Cheers. And then on the internet, reached out to Joe. He rang me about 5 years ago, and then I was looking at the hair transplant situation then. I wasn't happy with what could be achieved, so I let it go. The hairline scar kind of bothered me, but I then saw Joe's first YouTube video on eugenics, and it gave me some thought. And then when I saw Carl from Dublin, and I've been in touch with him a lot, I really started to think more seriously. Then I got in touch with Dr. Pradeep Sethi and Dr. Erika Bansal. This was about 2 years ago. And I sent them lots of photos, videos, etc. of my donor. And Dr. Sethi is very optimistic. Beyond that, actually. Nothing's a guarantee, but so I kept in touch with him quite frequently, almost on a weekly basis over the last couple of years, and not just about hair, like about all sorts of topics. You know, I did philosophy for about 10 years, so a lot of stuff on the Bhagavad Gita, etc. A whole host of different things about life, and we just sort of developed a really good friendship. And but that aside, the hair transplant situation, he's very confident with beard grafts that I can get coverage. And I've started to think differently about it over the last 12 months, and then I've decided to go ahead. And I think one thing too, you've said, Joe, also, is that an educated patient makes a better patient, because I realise I am 55, and I'm not going to get the results that a 21-year-old will. And I certainly don't recommend that for any 21-year-old. But yeah, no, I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
Well, Adrian, let me ask you a question. So, what kind of results you're actually looking for? Because I know that you've had SMP, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so, once you have to understand, and I'm sure the doctor said he explained this to you, that once you have your head tattooed, there are some various limitations, in my view, as far as how to place the grafts, how to to work within that SMP'd area, unless you're going to have it removed. Sometimes it acts as really good underground, and you can get a lot of really great, appearance of coverage depending on your skin to hair, contrast and stuff like that. But I mean, was there any concern about that with the doctor?
No, there wasn't. I actually lasered back about a good centimetre, maybe 15 millimetres of the hairline back, because it was quite low to cover that scar.
Okay.
So I've actually initially I had a lot of doubts, and I couldn't believe it could be done. I got in touch with Carl from Dublin and on WhatsApp, and so he's shown me a lot of his before photos, etc., and his donor before, and he was similar. He couldn't believe, everyone was saying no, 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 and then eugenics to him said yes, and he's delighted with the results he's got now.
That's great.
But that's Carl. But I'm at a similar loss to him. But I've continually sent. So I'm looking like Krusty the Clown right now. I've grown everything out on the sides and the back to give them a better idea, obviously. And
Adrian, let me cut in real quick. I need to ask you something. Sure. When you had your SMP done, was your donor area also addressed with SMP?
Parts of it, Joe. Yeah, the scarring in the back was addressed. And I've noticed growing it out that it's actually helped.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it has, and yeah, no, I'm 100% certain that it has helped, but I also need to, I need to throw, how can I say this, a word of reality in this situation where I understand. I'm glad you're excited. Like that's awesome. I'm glad that Dr. Pradeep is also excited. But one thing that he's not being able to see in your photos and your videos, I assume, is the SMP that you've had done in your donor region. And I say this for a very specific reason. SMP in the donor region can give a false impression of donor integrity. And I say that from personal experience, because I have also had, 8 years ago or 10 years ago now, SMP in my donor area, and it's still there. And even Dr. Wong, on my procedure in 2019, he actually misdiagnosed at first when he was going through it in my donor area, and he thought we could get more grafts than he actually realized on the day of the surgery when he shaved my head. So I'm sure that a healthy number of grafts can be taken, because one thing about Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Erica is they are really good with the donor region. Like they understand it. They know how to, like, this is one of the things I look at is how grafts are taken from a donor region. But just to temper your expectations, I think that you need to keep in mind that the overall graft extractions, the numbers that you wind up getting might be lower than whatever it is that Dr. Pradeep has presented for you as being the potential or the estimate. So, don't be too disappointed by that. I'm sure that whatever they can get, it can still make a big difference for you. But I want you to have that equation in your overall expectations, because they don't have that's the downside of online and virtual consultations, is you can't see those details that you can only see when you're actually, in front of someone. That's the challenge. Yes. So going to India and letting them see this up front will give you a much clearer picture of what's actually possible. And it may actually be possible. Like, they may have taken this into account, just didn't really discuss it with you. I don't know. But that may become a factor when you get there. But I'm sure that they can still handle it quite well. But I had to throw that out to you, because that's something that I know I'm pretty sure hasn't been discussed with you by anyone.
Yeah, no, thank you, because that's the very point I was concerned about, and I took some photos of the sides. The temples have receded back, obviously, and I was really concerned, and I almost, practically cancelled it a couple of times with Dr. Pradeep, and I took photos of the sides because the hair is an illusion, because there's, as you say, there's SMP underneath that. And so I took photos and I blew the photos up to the point you could actually see the dots and where the hairs come out around them, to let him know that, look, I think you're being way over optimistic here, because this is what I have. And I've sent him the photos, etc., and he's still being very optimistic. And Dr. Rika is fantastic. She's a little bit more conservative than he is, but even she has said that, no, we can get you, with beard hair, we can get you full coverage. And having curly hair, it's a little bit more of an asset. And it's not going to be perfect, but for a 55-year-old, they're very excited. And Dr. Pradeep is more so, but I think he's a people person. That's really him. But I've given him every indication of why I don't believe it could happen, and why I don't believe the results will happen. And he keeps countering that with, show me another photo then, or on WhatsApp. Okay, put on the video now. I want to see it. Have a look. Come outside in the light, in the sunshine, and show me, and then inside.
Good.
But I've sent quite a large volume of videos too, not just photos. And it was when the hair started growing out, I really had doubts, and then that's when I was going to cancel it. And I spoke with him, and he was very optimistic. So they've seen my SMP, they've seen me just before SMP, they've seen the hair now. It's about 8 weeks now. Well, no, about 6 weeks out of my hair. And the first thing I did notice was exactly what you were saying, was the SMP giving a false illusion of density, if you like, because of the shadow effect.
Absolutely.
Which means it's doing its job.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it's supposed to be doing.
The fact that the SMP is holding up to the point where it still creates an illusion of underground, and that's what essentially it is. It creates this underground where you actually might need less hair to be moved in order to get that illusion that you want. That's great. My only concern about SMP is, in the long term, once you have a hair transplant, will that color change? Will it fade? Will you eventually feel that, well, right now the hair transplant looks great. It's blending in perfectly with the SMP. However, what's going to happen? Am I going to have to dye my hair for the rest of my life? These are all things that that you have to take into consideration.
Absolutely. And look, personally, the research I've done over the last 5 years, I wouldn't go to anyone else, and that's not because of my respect for Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Rika and the eugenics team. It's actually my opinion. I don't think anyone else could give me the coverage that I would be happy with.
Well, listen, you've done a lot of research. You're obviously very comfortable. We are just here to give you every possible scenario so that you are fully prepared for anything that can happen. But you've obviously picked
100%.
A very respectable clinic. Dr. Pradeep is very confident that it could help you. You're confident in the choice that you're making. So you're already ahead of the game. Most people have not even done a tenth of the research that you have. You've also been listening to the show forever. So I think you're in a pretty good position.
Yeah, and already one thing I've stopped becoming self-conscious about is the scar at the back. Now, the S&P was great, but in terms of strip scars and whatnot, they do tend to stand out. Punch graft scars, because they don't have a geographical appearance as a strip scar, they don't draw the eye. They blend in really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I've already lost that feeling, that self-consciousness when you're standing in a queue and you're thinking, are they looking at the back of my head?
Yeah.
Are they looking at that scar? I don't even. It's like there's more room in my head now. But I'm not thinking about that.
And honestly, that's great. And there's a lot of guys like that. Over time, and I see guys who are here in Los Angeles. I'm not going to many restaurants now, but if I'm at a restaurant or if I'm at a bar, I see so many guys who've chosen to shave their heads, who have they have hair transplant scars, and not even great ones, like really bad scars, and they just live their lives. And so I think eventually people just recognize, listen, they're living a face-forward life. It's all about how you look in the mirror, how you present yourself to people. And honestly, if someone sees a scar on the back of your head, if you choose to shave or if you're doing what you're currently doing, they may be curious, they may not be curious, but it doesn't really affect your appearance. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't affect the way you present yourself to the world.
Yeah, I think, and this is the gift of wisdom. Well, the gift of wisdom is getting old. There's no gift in that at all. But the thing is, I think as you get older, and people might doubt this. Yes, you do care. I still care about my appearance, my hair, etc.
Yeah.
My shaved head, whatever it may be. But the point is, you got to go through life now, looking through the windscreen, not living through the rearview mirror. And I see so many people, whether it's on forums or whatnot, and they are living their life vicariously through a forum or through their hair, and they're never there. They're never present. They've elected to put their happiness sometime in the future when they get their third or their fourth procedure, or when they get.
Look, man, the forums were. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The forums were a glimpse, an early glimpse of the toxicity and the. Just the level of preoccupation that we now see, like, blown up in social media. And I saw the toxicity early on, and I knew, I'm like, these are really bad places for anybody to have any type of reasonable emotional life, a comfortable, healthy emotional life. There are, you can do some research if you're lucky, if you understand how not to get too heavily involved, if you just go in there and kind of, but once you start asking a lot of questions, really getting involved, and again, this is not in my best interest, because I have a forum, but it's just, they're bad, toxic, ugly places that are usually run in general by people who do not give a shit about the consumer, in my opinion. And it's all about getting clicks. It's all about maintaining volume.
I don't disagree one bit, Joe.
Say that again,
Spence. I don't disagree with you one bit.
Yeah. But you're also an adult. You're, like you said, you're a mature man. You're able to read between the lines. You've been through it all. So
Well, I kind of play on one of the forums is I just try and prevent people making my mistake. So I just try and I present photos of the scars, etc., and say this is what can happen. And I'm not in it so much for me. I'm trying to, in some way, prevent it happening to someone else. And if I can do that, then in a way it's been worth it.
Of course.
And it's a little like now. It's like I don't want people to have to get to this point in doing what they're doing. It's just that for me, I'm happy going ahead, and on top of it, I feel what I was saying before. I guess what I was trying to allude to is you've got to go through life looking through the windscreen, not through the rearview mirror.
That's correct.
And we can apply that to so many areas of life where we just live through the rearview mirror.
I've been trying to tell Joe that for years. He won't listen to me.
He has. He really has. I really don't.
Listen, Adrian, I know you're at the airport. I know you're waiting for your PCR test. Honestly, man, I wish you the best luck. I appreciate you calling the show so much, especially
my pleasure.
To share your experience. It's pretty cool that you're calling from the airport and that you're about to get on a plane. Hopefully, if things go well, getting yourself out of Australia.
I've got to come back tomorrow for the flight. I've got to come here for the PCR test.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a pain. It's Australia. What can I say?
Yeah, you guys are in a very interesting, precarious situation. Well, listen, Adrian, have a
worse. I could be Djokovic. So
yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Good luck. Good luck. Obviously, keep us posted. Everyone who's listening wants to hear what's happening, and what your experience was like. We want to see images. You can send them to Joe. We can put them on if you're comfortable. We can put them on the air. And we can,
no problem at all.
And we could spread the word, man. And you know what? I think you're going to be good. I think you have a really great attitude. You have a perfect understanding of what to expect. Your expectations are incredibly, probably more conservative and more reasonable than even Dr. Setty's right now. I mean, I think he probably believes he can do more than what you think he can do, and that's a good thing.
Well, that's what he's saying, but I'm optimistically cautious, if that makes sense, and so therefore I'm being realistic about what can be achieved. And I wouldn't be able to think this way 20 years ago, 10 years ago even.
Well, listen, man. Good luck. I think you're going to be in great hands, and we appreciate your patronage here, man, and the fact that you're willing to help so many people.
No, it's my pleasure, and if it wasn't for your show and for your channel too, Joe, people wouldn't be being informed, educated, and helped as well. So thank you.
All right, man. Listen, good luck, and great talking to you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, good luck with it.
Okay.
All right.
You too. I'll keep in touch.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. A lot of people are commenting on Joe's youthful appearance with his babyface haircut, his Hitler Youth haircut, and his shave. And I got to tell you,
Elon cut.
I got to tell you, I mean, it's what happens when you shave a gray beard off. Mm-hmm. It could take 10 years off of you, man. And when you have, the Elon Musk or the Hitler Youth haircut, that takes years off of you too.
All the way back to 1944. What?
Dude, I'm surprised you're not wearing a fucking brown shirt.
I had a brown vest on earlier.
I'm so glad you took that off, man. This would look like the wrong kind of show, my man.
Oh, man. Right at the cusp.
Phone number 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, boy. It's been a while. How are you?
Good. Who's this?
Who's this?
Nico.
Nico. What's happening?
Nico. Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's been like fucking a year and a half or two, maybe. Since I can't believe it.
I was going to say, it was before COVID.
Yes, for sure. Crazy.
So that's 2 years. Wow. How you been?
Oh, man. Well, sort of just avoided the whole checking in all the time and sort of just being OCD about all my craziness with my transplant and fucking.
Mm-hmm.
So
good.
I wish I was better. I mean, just the experience totally fucked me up, man. I mean, as far as my transplant goes, I just whatever. I got some major problems as a result. Just so much inflammation, shit like hardcore seborrhea.
Well, here's the thing. Every time we go on the air, there's a whole bunch of new listeners who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. So in brief, why don't you tell your story?
Sure, man. I'll try to do the short version. The abridged version would be...
do the Reader's Digest version.
An FUT here from a doctor in New York, good rep. Made the mistake of having it on a Friday. Was first bad call, but that was nothing. The FUT wasn't done too well. It was a little tight. I remember him tugging on the flesh as he was, no joke either, as he was trying to, while it was being done. I remember him just tugging on it.
Yeah.
As I was being cut, and that was sort of weird. Even when I showed back up that following week, there were some loose grafts that he saw on my scalp that he put back in. Whatever that means. I don't know if that was the best call either. It was just not the best growth, not the worst, but it was just years later now, my scalp is just crazy inflamed, a lot of seborrhea. My scalp is just white with the shit, and despite diet and all that stuff, the shit is just like that, seborrheic dermatitis, all the scaling, slime, shit, and sebum.
Now, what is this, doctor? What? I know it's years later. How many years ago was the procedure?
Probably been about 3.5, almost 4 years.
Are you still in contact with the clinic?
Well, I was there shortly after COVID hit, and just to check in and go over my stuff. And I even did it stupid. I did a PRP session just to see if it would do anything. The doctor said, "Oh, maybe it'll even help with your seborrhea." No guarantees, but he sort of thought maybe that would help it.
Now, did the physician throw it in?
Heard that.
Yeah, right.
Did the physicians throw it in, or did you pay for it?
Yeah, I wish I got it for free. I had to pay for it. It was just a waste of money, basically. But I was just desperate to try to get anything to help the cause. What else can I say? I mean, it's just been hell. Just, and partly why I haven't checked in a while. I was just like, all right, I got to just separate myself from the situation as best I can. And I've definitely been miserable because of it. It's just a bad experience. Sucks, not much more I can say, or probably a shitload I could say, but I'm just going to try to be chill about it.
Well, but you could say, first of all, on this show, you could say whatever you want to say, whatever you need to say. If you want to vent, you're welcome to do that. I think it's important for young guys who are. I'm going to share a little story. I was outside. I went down to there's a club where I am, which still allows you to kind of congregate. And I had a couple of drinks. I went outside with someone. They wanted to have a cigarette. I went outside with them to talk and hang out. And then all of a sudden this guy brings up, and this guy is a very wealthy guy, brings up going to Turkey for a hair transplant. That I understand that Turkey is the best place to have a hair transplant. And I'm just like...
You understand wrong.
I'm just like, holy shit. Not that, listen, you got fucked up in the U.S., but not, I'm just like... Holy shit, the level. And this is a guy he probably does about $25 million a year in his career. And he's relatively well known. I'm just thinking, what the fuck are you thinking, man? So, it doesn't really matter, I guess, what walk of life you're in, what you're considering, anyone who's considering getting into this space, having hair transplant surgery, they have to understand that there are stories like yours, not just if you go to Turkey, but New York, Los Angeles, Miami. Some of the best, most respected doctors will have patients who are coming out of surgery who are incredibly disappointed. Now, it may be a smaller percentage in the guys' hands who have more time on tissue, who have a more well-trained staff. But you said something interesting. You decided to have surgery on a Friday. To me, that, especially if you're the last surgery of the day, or if
worst idea.
If it's a long surgery, to me that's always a bad idea.
Yeah, I had no idea until I started listening to you guys that it was why it was bad and all that. But,
well, these girls want to get the fuck out of there. They're like, it's happy hour, yo. Let's finish this guy up and get out of here.
I mean, there were just so many red flags from the beginning. With even when I went in after, on the day of surgery, and he touched the top of my head, and he said my scalp's texture felt funny, and I didn't know if that was a bad thing or. So I mean, with all this seborrhea and stuff, I've just been going crazy thinking, oh, did he plant the grafts too deep? Is my, something to do with my chemistry that my body doesn't like? Am I prone to seborrhea? So hair transplant made it worse. Yeah, it sucks because now with all the shit in my scalp, the seborrhea, as much as I try not to overuse ketoconazole or overdo it, and watching my diet after listening to Joe a lot and all that, it's just like, I can't even really do SMP on a scalp that's covered in seborrhea. It's like, or I don't think at least. But
Nico, let me ask you, and forgive me for not remembering, but have you been to a dermatologist about this?
Yeah, and every time I've gone, it's been, even some other surgeons I've checked out, they had a really hard time initially. When I knew right away when my scalp felt funny, like that sort of, when I sort of felt like slimy patches, they had a hard time seeing it. It didn't really show its true form until much later. So now, yes, I have seen the dermatologist, and during COVID, I was getting, injections of, cortisone injections to reduce inflammation. But then COVID hit, and they were not in the office because they were sketched out about what was going on with it. So I'm actually seeing my derm for the first time in like a year and a half. So hopefully they'll help me out with something. I mean, I use creams and all that bullshit, but I just have an incomplete hair transplant and fucked up skin now because of it. So
well, let me ask you a question. During your consultation, okay, so the physician took a look at your scalp and said, okay, the scalp looks a little wonky. Was there any form of trichoscopy, or dermoscopy performed? Did they take a look besides with just loops? Or was there any form of device used to really take a look at the overall quality of your scalp, including nothing?
Okay. I mean,
that's a very interesting. And the reason I bring up this point is, we did the Global Hair Loss Summit this year, and one of our select technology contributors is a company called Trico Lab, and I believe, and there's a lot of doctors who are resistant to this based on maybe some costs, or they feel like it's just going to take up too much time during your consultation, or for whatever the fuck reason, I don't get it. These guys have created devices that have been used in dermatology and in dermoscopy for a very long time. It's a very well-known company, especially in Europe. And they've created something specifically to kind of weed out situations like yours, and to kind of make physicians who are making decisions to perform surgery on candidates like you, or maybe you weren't a candidate, really provide them with the information they need and that the consumer needs to make a more better informed decision. And then I want to try to get this piece of equipment into every legitimate hair transplant surgeon's hands, and at the very least, all IHS members. And I'm noticing that it's a bit of a struggle, and I was just curious as to your experience.
No.
And you had nothing.
No, I mean, only the initial donor density to whatever it was that they were, I can't remember the name of it, but just, I went in for my consultation.
Just a simple densitometer they probably used.
Right, yeah. When I went for my consultation, I was cleared to have surgery, but the day of surgery, when he touched my scalp, he's like, oh, it feels funny. I would have thought maybe he would have said maybe we should wait, but it was kind of like, go for it. And I had no clue, you know what I mean? And so he's prescribed me oral minoxidil and all that stuff, and I've avoided taking it, but it looks like my only option at the moment are trying to get my scalp healthy again before even considering able to, get any work done.
How old are you now?
Improve all the 47.
47, okay.
But, man, again, you guys look exactly the same. I've aged 10 years since I talked to you.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And the only reason I look exactly the same is because I have really great lighting. But Joe actually looks great. But
so, I got to decide on the oral minoxidil route. I have this shit. I just haven't taken it, just with all the, shit to be cautious of. So I'm just left in a sort of shitty position of, I try not to complain, but it's just shit sucks with my situation. So,
let me ask you, and this is kind of like out of the box thinking, but did you have any, are you, and this, you don't have to share this information if you don't want to, but, because of COVID, there's a lot of people who are obviously getting vaccinated. Did you notice any change in your scalp after, if you are vaccinated, after you got vaccinated?
That's hilarious that you said that. It's not hilarious, but I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed that after I got the booster after 2 vaccinations, that it definitely made my seborrhea a lot worse.
Really?
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you were asking or not, but that is
what I'm asking. And again, I just want to make it clear to all of the, to the world out there that I'm certainly not an anti-vaxxer, as they would put it. But
no.
But any time you create an immune response, especially a heightened immune response, what I have been noticing, as far as people contacting us through our resources, is greater inflammatory issues of the scalp, scarring, exacerbation of scarring alopecia areata. I've even noticed, and this is all a casual, anecdotal stuff, that there are more patients that are contacting us that seem to have a slower healing process after their hair transplant. Now, I don't know if it has anything to do with the vaccines, but I can tell you that I do know that people in your situation seem to be reporting, at least for a short period of time, an exacerbation of some of their symptoms.
100%. There's no joke. And I had that same conversation, disclaimer with anybody. I was like, I'm not anti-vax, or we could have that conversation. I said, but I did have, after the fact, problems were exacerbated. I mean, last time I talked to you guys, like 2 years ago, I even had a biopsy to see what the fuck was going on with my scalp before the major seborrhea issues. Right. And then that shit, the doctor said, oh, look, it didn't come back as areata, but he saw early signs of seb derm. He thought it was, areata. But, man, since I talked to you guys, my scalp just got
but after your first 2, the initial vaccines, did you see any change, negative change, or was it after the booster?
I think, no, it was definitely after the first or second where I noticed I had started to get seb derm on my face where I didn't have it before, that on different parts of my body. But the scalp, forget it, the worst. Like, I've had to honestly peel my hair off of my skin, meaning it's stuck from that sebum. It's so bad. Slimy, fucking disgusting. I was like, how is this possible? I've never even heard of it.
And listen, again, I just want to make it clear to...
And I don't want to freak out any of the audience.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely not. And, the majority of the audience who are getting vaccinated don't have the same issues that you have, But there does seem to be something in some people where their inflammatory or autoimmune issues are, at least in the short term, because it could be because of the major spike of the spike proteins or antibodies or whatever. It puts things into overdrive. Now, again, I don't know that for a fact. I would not go on Joe Rogan and express these opinions, because I really don't know. But it is very interesting because we are the clearinghouse for all of this shit. And I can't tell you how many people have contacted us, and they don't even put 2 and 2 together until they're asked about it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's very fascinating. And I am noticing in the message groups and stuff that there seems to be more questions about slowed growth from doctors, like what's going on, why, and if they're coming through my resources, I'm like, something might be happening. So I was curious. But the good news is it could mean that it's going to be more temporary once the antibodies kind of calm down.
Yeah. As I said, I've just tried to be patient for the last 2 years, and that's why I haven't called in frantically like I used to call on the regular. But, man, fucking shit sucks. It's the hard part is having an incomplete transplant.
Let me ask you
all this shit on top of it.
What are you taking? You said you've tried to try you've given the nutrition side a shot. What have you done, and what are you doing now?
So as far as nutrition, you mean?
Yeah.
or in general with everything. Oh, on the nutritional side of things, no soda, more fish, taking omega-3s, more exercise, more walking. I know that's, the sort of symbiotic with nutrition is exercise. But what else? No processed, fewer donuts, to no donuts, no garbage. I've really tried to step it up as far as to try to nip in the bud what I think could be the underlying issues that might cause.
Are you taking any sort of supplements?
No, other than omega-3s and vitamin D, which was pretty low at one point. When I went to the doctor, they said it was crazy low. Yeah, that's really basically it. I mean, just trying to eat healthier in general, less processed crap.
Well, I remember when, I don't remember if I told you this before. I think I've mentioned this before on the show, but I had the exact same issue you had after my third surgery, and I
was desperate. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, I think it was around
large flakes. I remember you said you had large flaking.
Yeah, and it scared the shit out of me. Because here I was at the time, I was the poster boy for the clinic that I was working for, and I literally was concerned about my future as said poster boy. It's like all my hair was going to come out because of this seborrheic dermatitis issue.
Yeah,
and
I tried the Kohl shampoo you mentioned. Sorry, go ahead, man. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I you know how much I've listened to you guys and used to call out crazy, to the point of where it was almost like Joe from Staten Island. But and that's the hard thing is it hormonal imbalance? Is it a low immune system? Am I overdoing it with ketoconazole, which I'm not, or cold tar, or any of that shit? And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I've tried to use everything without overdoing anything or doing add-ons or any of that shit. I mean, I've avoided taking the oral Monox just for the fear of all the heart potential, heart stuff. But I might start taking a low dose of that, or maybe just give it another year. And
let me ask you this, and this
like
is
a motherfucker.
This is going to sound. This is going to sound kind of like,
harsh.
No, very, very, very like L.A. or just very like very hocus pocus. But have you tried red light therapy at all? I'm not talking about low level laser light therapy necessarily, but I'm talking about there's relatively inexpensive red light therapy devices that you can buy online. And I was not really a huge believer in red light therapy until pretty recently, and I'll tell you my experience. I had a bad tooth. Go ahead.
Yeah, tell me, because with all the laser cap stuff you guys used to talk about, how you could make your own at home because it's cheaper. I mean, I've just avoided any light therapy, just sort of trying to ride shit out to see nature take its course, see if I could just not do add-ons before seeing if I could resolve it first. But yeah, I'm open to it.
Well, here's the thing. So I had my first root canal and my last root canal, and I guess the endodontist either fucked it up. Guys who are in my age group, when you were a kid, every time you went to the dentist, apparently we had a cavity. These guys just didn't give a shit. They fucked up your teeth, So my whole mouth is full of silver for like a lot of my life. So I had the silver amalgams removed for most of them, and then replaced and all that stuff. And I think that at least with one tooth, it weakened the tooth. The tooth was fucked up. I had to get a root canal. When they did the root canal, all of a sudden, like that tooth is fucked up. You may have to have it removed. Or you should have it removed. So my dentist was like, you know what? Don't remove the tooth because you have very deep roots. Let's see if we can maintain that pocket and work on it. I didn't have any pain. So I did. I maintained the pocket. I kept bacteria out of it, blah, blah, blah. But it only lasts for enough years until you got to fucking remove that shit. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I had a little bit more bone loss. Long story short, she's like, look, I have these red light devices. I'd like you to try it even before you get the tooth removed, because we've seen a lot of bone regrowth, especially in your part of the jaw, using the devices outside of your cheek, around the tooth, just for several minutes a day. And let's see what it looks like on your next CAT scan, or whatever. I guess it's a minimal CAT scan.
X-ray.
Well, it's like an X-ray, but they actually have to do like a CAT scan where they go all the way around your jaw to check to see if there's any bone loss. Well, long story short, I'm still going to have to remove that tooth. It's the far back tooth, so it doesn't really make a difference. But it does look like, after doing this diligently, that I actually had some bone regrowth.
Wow.
And I was like, what the fuck? I was shocked. And I did it almost like a joke, like, okay, doc, you know what? I'm going to take your word for it. I trust you. You're a good person. Also, they gave me the device for nothing that they usually sell for like $300. So I'm like, why not? Let's make this happen. And I can tell you that there was a definite benefit. So I'm like, well, maybe this shit really works.
Oh, that's my derm.
But there are red light devices that you can buy online that either they're dental devices or they're just cosmetic devices that you might want to try. They kind of will, they're almost like pens. Try it on specific areas where you have the worst area of dermatitis or seborrheic dermatitis.
Mine's full scalp. Yeah.
Right, but see what it's like in a specific area. Keep track of that area and see if it improves. I don't think it's going to cause you any harm. I'm not a physician, obviously, and it's up to you. You should talk to your doctor about it. But it would be really interesting to see if you do this for 3 to 6 minutes a day. Don't have to buy a $3,000 laser cap. You can buy something for like $80 to $200 online. That's very concentrated and very specific. This is not laser. This is red light, and see if it works. Yeah. And I have a feeling that you might actually see some sort of an improvement because, listen, man, I was not a believer, and now I am.
Nice. Mm-hmm. No, I'll definitely check it out. I mean, I'm desperate. I'm trying not to sound desperate for anything to help the cause.
Yeah, and they're not expensive devices, and they're all very similar as far as their strength and wavelength. And you can find plenty of them online. And I can't give you a specific brand. This physician or this dentist actually produces her own. So, but it seems to be working wonders on a lot of people. And again, I've been doing this for a long fucking time. I don't believe in anything. I'm the biggest skeptic that there is.
I hear you.
So the shit grew bone.
Yeah, that's crazy. What sucks is having this sebderm just full scalp, and it's on the scar. And it's slimy, and then it gets scaly, and back and forth and back. It's so hard to manage.
Imagine if you treat a specific. But imagine if you treat a specific spot for a 6-week period, and you notice, wait a second, this particular spot is really changing. Then there are devices you can get that could really help to cover your entire scalp.
Yeah.
And honestly, red light's less expensive than these low-level laser light therapy devices. But there's also handheld devices that you'd be able to rub over your entire scalp, part your hair, stuff like that. And yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to be something you're going to have to stick with. But for the cost of these devices and given the situation that you're in, I think it's worth a try.
$300 is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm game. Let me ask you guys a question. I wish I could talk to you longer, and I know you guys got to get to other people. It's been a while. I know dandruff comes with the territory with a transplant, or can, right? It's pretty common. When grafts are placed too deep, I know there are things like foreign body reactions and all that shit. Could my sebderm be a result of grafts that were placed too deep? Separate of maybe any, tree, whatever I have to skin issues?
Well, assuming that there were healthy grafts to begin with, they'd have to be placed really deep for them to be trapped. but I don't think it would be so much of a dandruff issue that would develop so much as a pustule, like a cyst buildup, where you would have multiple cysts across the top of your scalp or wherever this happened, and it generally wouldn't happen throughout.
Right.
Generally speaking, they're gonna look at the length of those grafts and they're gonna make an incision that's roughly the same depth, maybe slightly deeper, just so that there's a bit of play with it. But I don't think that would be the issue. I think that if there was a foreign body reaction, it would be more likely from damaged hair shafts that were transected while the incisions were being made, and pieces of that hair stuck in the scalp. But again, I don't think it would have such an effect where it would cover the entire scalp, because that would be a lot of peripheral transection. Like that would be off the hook as far as that goes. So I understand the question. It makes sense on the surface, but I don't think that would be a contributing factor. I think that I think this is more of a superficial issue that's not it's not so deep as the grafts. It's not being generated from down there. It's more superficial, and I think that what Spencer was talking about, I mean, there's potential there. I think there's also potential with maybe looking into taking and I'm not a doctor, this is I guess this would be classified as a nutraceutical, but I would take an anti-inflammatory intake such as curcumin or turmeric on a regular basis.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say I've added that to my repertoire. I've added turmeric.
We talked about that before. Yeah. Okay. Good. And then just keep on with the dermatologist, and now that you can get back in there, take baby steps.
Yes.
That's all I can say on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, listen, man, we're gonna take another call, and I hate hearing what you've been going through. And I know, again, it sounds like fucking voodoo. It sounds like voodoo to me.
It is.
No, I'm saying when I saw this stuff with my teeth, I was like, I happen to like this dentist, and she's always been really good to me. So I'm like, you know what, you're going to give this to me? I will use it diligently and see what the fuck happens. When I saw this, I was just like, okay, this is fucking crazy. So
I'll scope it out.
And it still sounds like voodoo to me. I don't even like recommending shit like this.
Yeah.
Potentially
promising. I got it.
But give it a shot, man.
I will. Hey, man, I'm sorry to take your guys' time, and thanks so much. I tried to be real level-headed about this stuff, and I hope you guys are doing well yourself. I can't believe how much time has passed, and everyone listening,
it's too long.
Sub to Joe's channel. He doesn't have enough subs. Do it up, and thank you guys. I appreciate everything.
All right, man. And listen, it's good hearing from you. You never have to apologize for taking up our time. You're not taking up our time. You're contributing to our content. As Tom Likas would say, content kitty. And, this is important content for other people to hear.
No doubt.
And we're here to help you. And I'm just looking online.
It's also it's a story that most people don't hear about, like major inflammation issues is, you hear the gamut of shit, but I thought this was important. So
yeah, I'm looking online on Amazon right now. There's something called a Exoscribe red light therapy for the face and body. It's a handheld LED. It's very similar to what I have. It's a pen essentially that's a little wider. It's maybe the the circumference of Joe's pecker. I don't know. I never saw it, but
like a half inch. Really, that's it.
That's a big ass pen. But like a half quarter, like maybe like size of a quarter, something like that. But it's $99.
I'm gonna check it out.
And
quarter pounder.
It's on Prime Video. Honestly, man, I don't know. Maybe. And I'm thinking, I was just like, was that CAT scan whacked out? Did you fucking, I'm such a cynic about before and afters. But I saw it on the screen as it was being done.
Yeah.
So
I'll check it out.
All right, man. Good luck. Let us know.
All right.
Take care.
Let's have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You too.
Take care, Nico.
Take care. Thanks.
Phone number 888-659-3727. By the way, Joe, you know that's projection. Come on.
I know, of course.
You know, I've got issues. Me and Howard Stern. Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, gentlemen, this is Dave from Brooklyn.
Dave from Brooklyn with the mellifluous voice. What's happening there?
Hey,
how are you,
gentlemen,
Dave?
It's been a while. I'm going to be the fastest phone call of the night. I'm going to start right now. I just wanted to tell you guys that I had a friend who told me that his friend was interested in getting a transplant and that he heard the best thing to do is to fly to Turkey. And boy, did I set him straight. And I wanted you guys to realize that not only have you saved me, and you guys remember that, but now you saved my friend's friend. So it's like, what is it, 2 people separate, 2 people removed from the person you saved. So your advice is having far-reaching consequences beyond what you may have realized.
Oh, and, dude, we're like the Kevin Bacon of hair loss, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And guys, honestly, one more thing. Beyond what you guys have done for everybody and, the people who frequent your website and all your information that both of you put out and all your videos are so grateful. I know they are, as I am. But not only that, but this is just this is probably the greatest model for capitalism in business history, to be able to help the customer with professional, unbelievable, honest advice and to not charge them at the same time. Greatest business model ever. So, gentlemen, have a wonderful weekend, and I love what you guys do, and I'm always listening. Take great care.
Listen, man, I appreciate that. It's always great to hear from you, and I'm glad we were able to help. All right, brother, you take care. That is going to be a great fucking soundbite.
I know. I'm grabbing that.
Well, you know what's interesting about that is, first of all, I ran out of hard drive space, so my recording stopped a while ago, so I'll have to grab it from YouTube. But that is exactly what I have told these guys in this industry for fucking 2 decades. And when I was speaking to this other podcaster, they're always talking about, so how do you monetize? Do you have commercials, this and that? I'm like, dude, I don't have to.
Like, nope.
I figured it out 24 years ago. You just give it away to the consumer, and then there are other people that want to be attached to you who are willing to support your message. And even if that message doesn't necessarily bring them leads, just that association puts them in a different category in the minds of the consumer. Just the association of people supporting the idea that surgery is a last resort. Do whatever you can. Shave your fucking head first before you do anything. When a consumer sees that there's a physician, for instance, product or service or whatever it may be, that associates himself without having to sit there and me read fucking ads. When I started my radio career, that's what it's all about. You have to sell advertising. And the only way that I was able to stay on the air was to take on very specific advertisers. When I started, the radio stations were trying to sell the ads themselves, and they were selling the same bullshit. They wanted me to do live reads for, bullshit companies here in Los Angeles and in New York. I was like, no, I have to change this model. And I'm going to take credit for that, Dave. And I appreciate that. Joe deserves credit as well. But the truth is, I believe, even though the audience is smaller, we're a lot more effective. And we can help a lot more people without selling the bullshit. And you can make a lot of fucking money. Just like what he said. It is a very unique way to do something the right way in capitalism. Whatever that means.
Us.
Yeah, well, it allows us to sleep at night, but I've always told these doctors, and most of them don't fucking understand it, there's a lot more money to be made in good medicine than pimping out bad medicine, but this industry doesn't understand that. If you are on the side of good medicine and you stick there, in the long run, you will make more money than your competitors. You don't have to sell anything except the truth. Most people still don't fucking get it. 888-659-3727. And that, talk about patting myself in the back. Sorry, guys. But, it was an opportunity, and I took it. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
This is Morty from Brooklyn.
Oh, shit. 4 fucking lines lit, and I got Morty. What's happening?
Guys,
sorry, bad connection.
Man.
Bad connection. Thank you. How are you?
Good, man. Doing really well, man. I just enjoyed your premiere. I think was it this morning for your new hair transplant consultation, Joe. You're sporting a lot of chest hair there. Oh, that was yesterday. Yeah, you're sporting a lot of chest hair there, buddy.
Hey, man. It's the way I'm made.
You know what's interesting, Morty? I noticed. I happened to go on. I happened to look at Joe's video. I like to support my friends and my partner in crime here at the Bald Truth. And guys, don't take that out of context. We're not committing crimes. That's a saying. Jesus,
you said it, man. You admitted.
But I noticed that you now seem to have expert opinions on the subject of hair transplant surgery, Morty. I noticed that you wrote an expert opinion on Joe's YouTube page.
I don't claim to be an expert. Never did. Everything that I've learned from you guys.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm just busting your balls, man. It's just as you express yourself in writing, you're expressing yourself as someone who is an expert in the field. And I guess you did learn a lot over the last few years.
Yeah, I went to the College of the Bald Truth, I got the associate's degree in hair transplant kibitzing.
Bald Truth you.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's going on?
Yeah,
You got a lot to talk about, I understand.
Yeah, no, a fair amount, actually. For those who don't know, yes, I finally did it. I finally had my transplant, and I'm here calling in finally to be able to give a report to my two favorite people here and to all the listeners, if people are interested in.
I feel like he deserves. I feel like he deserves something from the 360, Spencer. He finally got a hair transplant, some sort of celebratory clip or something to really emphasize the momentous size of this moment for him.
I really don't know.
Is there anything you can pot up?
I really have nothing prepared at this point because, I could throw one of these in.
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
I'm so happy. Hold me.
There you
Don't
go.
run away from your
There you go.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not asking where this came from.
So I mean, it was a journey, as and plus I also made my YouTube debut, which for those people who had seen it, I don't know if anyone's seen it on Dr. Cole's YouTube channel, such as it is. So that was kind of fun to do also.
That one?
Oh dear.
Yeah, I actually did see it, and again, I got to tell you, Morty, and take this in the spirit that's meant. You control every room you're in.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And that's not a bad thing. You controlled that room. I watched you being interviewed by Dr. Cole, and you were controlling the entire conversation.
I guess. I mean, I wanted to make sure it turned out well, and so I kind of, perhaps maybe I led a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that we covered all the bases, including the bases that you guys generally cover.
But what's interesting about that's actually a talent. I just want to let you know that. That's a very specific talent, and most people, I'm like, you should have been a fucking lawyer.
Oh, goodness.
No, really.
Do you know how many lawyers there are in this town, Spencer? Come on. I'm in New York City.
Oh yeah, you know what, man? But there's only a few good lawyers. Trust me.
Well, that's true too.
I have two who are fucking fantastic, by the way. Thank you guys if you're listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to give it a quick go around. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself because those people had seen the YouTube video, but essentially it was a pretty big procedure. It was close to 4,000 grafts. something on the order of about 38 and change came from the donor area, and a few dozen came from the beard. It's now, I think we're at
a few
2
dozen.
months right
That's
now.
it.
Yeah.
What do you
We
mean a few
really
dozen?
didn't
Like
take too much from there.
Okay. All right.
Like 50 or 60, something like that. Yeah, it was like, or maybe may have been 100. Something like that. It was a small amount. And yeah, we covered we rebuilt the hairline. Well, he rebuilt the hairline, and in the mid scalp, and even through a few in the just for shits and giggles in the upper crown. And that's pretty much what it was. It was a big procedure. It was 2 days long, about 16 hours total, 8 and 8 essentially. It wasn't very painful. It was, I guess, if I had to equate it to any personal experience, it was like sitting in a dentist's chair for 16 hours. That's probably the way I would describe it. Yeah.
16 hours. That's a long damn surgery.
Yeah, well, it was 2 8-hours. So it was like we had, it was 2 days. So it was 2 8-hours. Yeah, it was long. It was no question about it. But they were very thorough and very efficient. It was Dr. Cole plus his 2 techs and his nurse. Those were the people who were in attendance. The drill was interesting.
What does in attendance mean exactly?
That they were physically there. Dr. Cole was probably there about 75% of the time.
He's being literal that they were physically there. Motherfucker.
And a little testy, too. What do you mean they were literally there? I mean they were actually there, Spencer, in the fucking room.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
There was
what were they fucking doing on your head? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, what were they doing on my head? Oh, I don't know. Some of them were putting their wine glasses there, or the people were eating Doritos off of it. They were doing their jobs, but I could tell you all about it. So Dr. Cole, he basically did the extraction. He used this drill. It's funny because obviously you have a limited field of vision because you can't see 90% of what people are doing because they're behind you or above you or to your side. But you can hear things. So the drill sounded like a cross between a dentist's drill and crickets. If that sounds like anything. Didn't really feel like too much, except perhaps slight pressure where the drill was going in. There was a lot of kibitzing, a lot of chatting between the techs and stuff, and I tried to insert myself into the conversation like I always do.
What were the techs talking about?
Oh, all kinds of things. Like, because it was I think it was Thanksgiving Eve, so they were talking about what they were going to prepare for Thanksgiving for their families. There was some chatter between Dr. Cole and his techs about placement. He actually had them move. They had placed some hairs, and then he had them move certain grafts from one location to others. He had them relocate. There was a lot of talk about, and this is kind of important, there was a lot of talk about at the extraction time, there's a lot of information that gets gathered early on, which you can't know even from an up-close inspection about the quality of donor. And this was kind of interesting because on first blush, he had a certain understanding about what he was dealing with respect to the donor area. He saw that, I had a fair number of multi-hair grafts that were available. But when he actually started to extract, when looking at the extracted hairs, he noticed that there was a larger telogen percentage per graft than he would see typically. I don't remember the percentages exactly. The video talks about them, but what he did mention is typically he doesn't like to see more than 20% telogen in the donor area. So I guess for every 100 hairs, 20 of them would be telogen. He was seeing higher than that, and it concerned him a little bit. But he did do something unique in that he did a study where he placed telogen hairs into a specific part of the scalp, and these, typically he just moves the hairs as they come out. But he doesn't like to move. He doesn't like to move a lot of hairs that have a high degree of telogen, because chances are you're dealing with somebody who, in the particular area that's being extracted, may either be suffering from a telogen effluvium or from androgenic alopecia in that area, in which case the likelihood of survival of those grafts goes down, because of the high degree of telogen means that there's more likelihood that they're going to be less graft survival. Obviously, at this point, it's a little early to tell. But that was one of the concerns that he did mention.
It's also a sign of it's also a sign of aged alopecia in some patients.
Aging?
Aged alopecia, which is just a typical thinning of the hair shaft diameter as we age, that could appear to look like telogen hairs.
Interesting.
So it's very possible that even some of those hairs that were removed would be, have full life, going through complete growth cycles, but they would just be thinner in diameter than the surrounding hair.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing that was mentioned, was that one of the things that I had going for me was there was a high hair per follicle rate. I think it was like 2.75 or something like that. But the downside was the hair shaft thickness was kind of low, so it was I have very fine hair.
Right.
Well, traditionally, that's the way it works out. Finer hair will have more hairs per grouping than normal hair shaft diameter type of characteristics or coarser hair. So that actually sounds about right. Like finer hair will have more hairs per follicle. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. So basically, the way it kind of worked is that he would take, there would be an extraction where they'll pull like 50 to 100 hairs, and then he would hand those off to the techs. The techs would take them back, clean them up, and he would then record the techs. One of the things that he really did, which was kind of interesting, was he was very meticulous about keeping track of exactly how many hairs were extracted from where, and percentage telogen, lots of little details. So his records were very meticulous. But again, I don't have anything to compare it to in terms of the way that other doctors work. But he was very, particular about numbers. Numbers were kind of big with him.
Yeah.
Then, so they would come, out, get them cleaned, and then Dr. Cole would proceed to create the recipient sites in the recipient area, and then the techs would come back around and place hairs in those recipient areas, and that's pretty much what the process was. There were breaks in between where, sorry?
No, pretty standard.
Did you say? Yeah. And that was kind of the way it went. We would take breaks every so often. I would stand up and stretch my legs because it's a long time to sit down. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't particularly uncomfortable. We had movies to watch, what have you. I was given an ATP spray post, first day and second day, to spray every hour on the scalp. The first night I basically stayed up all night, essentially, because I was sitting in a chair, and I don't do well sitting up. And every hour I sprayed my head with this stuff. And the second night, I basically stayed up till about 2 a.m, and then I fell asleep. What else? Second night I actually soiled the pillow a little bit, but they gave me a sheeting for it, so the hotel wasn't too upset at me. The donor area, upon once it was done, it looked pretty clean. I think I sent some pictures up, but it looked pretty clean. The recipient area, when it first went in, it looked very well populated and very full, which was shocking to look in the mirror. As to see myself with hair again was really kind of weird.
That's how and that's interesting that you say that. And I think it's a very important point for people who are looking at and finding these, before and afters in their social media feeds. Every time you see a procedure directly after the procedure, it looks tremendously full. The hairline looks really well laid out in most cases, because you're dealing with inflammatory factors, redness. You're dealing with, for the grafts that have hair that are placed, that have just been placed. In some cases, they're slightly raised. So it just creates this illusion of it's going to grow in like a fucking, like a lawn. and this is this is the way that I'm going to look. That's not the case. But I always find it interesting that this is what you see on every Instagram feed, or at least, what's coming from Europe, Turkey, so on and so forth. And people are like, oh, my God, this looks so great. I'm so excited for you. You don't know what the fuck it's going to look like, to be honest.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. And again, I know this because I listen to you guys, and there's other aspects too. Like you said, there's inflammation, which makes things look bigger. There is the surrounding blood, which then forms into a scab. The scabs themselves make the hair look thicker because they're dark. So that definitely plays a part. Some few things. A lot of tenderness for the first 2 to 3 weeks in the donor area. It was very tender. The recipient area was the opposite. It was like dead. Like I felt like I had no sensation on the top of my head for at least. Yeah. It was like it was numb. It was like touching a piece of meat. It was strange. Basically, after about a week, the scabs fell out. Then, and that takes us, there was still a lot of residual redness.
All right, so we have the basics. So let's speed this up to the point of what was after the grafts fell out, after you felt that you had some healing time. What was your scalp like, and how were you feeling about it emotionally?
Okay, so we can talk about it now. So my scalp kind of looks like the face of a 15-year-old boy who's had too much pizza. Okay. That's kind of annoying. So a fair amount of, the occasional folliculitis showing up, a lot of itchiness. In terms of fullness, I pretty much look, from a distance, I look pretty much the same as I did before the procedure, which is okay, know. I'm actually glad of that. The thing I don't like are lots of these little red pimples which keep showing up. That's annoying. I'm hoping that starts to go away. And it's funny, like it went away, and then because these wounds they create themselves, and then within 3 or 4 days they close up, but then other ones show up. So it's kind of annoying. I'm hoping that from what I've been able to read, folliculitis happens to about 50% of the people who have hair transplants. I think that's right. But it tends to resolve itself within the first 6 months on the outside.
Yeah, and it can. And you may actually have to go in and actually have, things popped and picked and pulled out. And, that's also a possibility.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you should mention, because I had a second visit with Dr. Cole about a week ago, and he actually went and yanked out a few hairs. Yeah. But he said that things looked okay for the most part, and it's early days. We're not even at 2 months yet, so I'm fine with it.
It's all very typical.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I've been listening to you guys for long enough to know that this is kind of how it goes. If I touch it, like if I feel it to the touch, I can definitely feel a lot of bristly hairs in places where the scalp was smooth.
Right.
So there's stuff going on. If I look real close, I can actually see a fair number of baby hairs in places where I didn't have any. But there are places which had hair on them, from day 0, which are now bare.
How does your donor look?
It looks thinner, but it doesn't look moth-eaten. It's uniformly thinner, if you could say.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If I cut it down to if I cut it down to like a 1 guard, it looks nice and uniform.
Good. And that means you did a great job.
Yeah. I'm very pleased with the way the donor looks.
Yeah.
I really am. I don't think I have too much left, because I didn't have too much to begin with.
Right.
Plus, it was a big procedure. So I don't think that there's much to go back into the well there without really taking risk on appearance. But the way it looks now, it's fine. And the way I'm thinking about it is like this, Spencer. First of all, a lot of the hairs that are going to grow in are going to grow in white. And I'm seeing that there's a fair number of long hairs which are white that came in. So, and that's fine. The way I see it, and this is Spirit it's given, it's one of those things where, and again, I won't know this until a year is out. If I look better than I did before, then I'm happy. I don't look like a freak, which is the one thing I was worried about.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've already won on that on that front.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if you allow your hair to go gray as things grow in, you're going to see a lot more, a lot less contrast between scalp and hair, and even your donor. Everything is going to be. I don't know if you dye your donor, but everything.
I don't dye my hair at all.
Okay, everything is just going to be much more uniform as you get older. And as you mature, you're going to look like, as long as the hair continues to grow, you're going to continue to look like you have a fuller head of hair as you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that's another thing that's really important is that I honestly don't even care if I get a full head of hair. What I care about at the end of the day is I don't want to look like a freak. And from what I can tell, that's not going to happen. If I look like a guy who's thinning, if I look like a guy who's balding, quite frankly, I'm okay with it.
Of course. And I guess my point was as you mature and as your hair gets lighter, you will have a fuller looking head of hair. You're never going to have a full head of hair.
Yeah, and that's fine. So I'm, so far so good. The thing that's annoying is the folliculitis, but other than that, I'm happy as a clam. Nobody can look at me right now and say that I've had anything done, but I don't look like I've had anything done. I look like I did before the procedure, and that's to be expected.
How long has it been now, Morty, since surgery?
It was, so it's the 14th of January. It was the 14th of November, so it's practically 2 months.
2 months.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I can tell you that sometimes the folliculitis is a good sign because it means that there's activity of potential new growth. And you said you're seeing some fine hairs, so that could be correlative. But I think the big thing for you to take away from your experience, like you said, or like Spencer said, you already won as far as not looking like a freak in your words. Yep. And what I'm happy to hear is that you said you just want to have more hair. And what I can say is that when this hairline comes in and the areas posterior to the hairline in the mid-scalp, I think that based on what I'm pretty sure you've learned over the past several years and the way that you've approached this, you'll have a frame to your face that you've not had in a long time. And that in and of itself is a huge improvement to how you see yourself in the mirror and how people see you, on the street. Because just framing the face and having a roof on top of that forehead automatically takes several years off of your appearance. And it's a great feeling. And then to have enough hair in the mid-scalp region to where once it gets some length to it, you can start to comb it and style it. And you'll need a little hairspray to hold it in place. Man, that's a great feeling. And like you understand, you're not going to have a full head of hair. There's just far too much hair that's needed for that. It takes a lot of hair. But this is a great step for you. And I got to say, I'm proud of you for the way that you've taken your time. You've learned the way things really are. You've listened to us, and you've moved forward with caution. You filtered through the different doctors that you consult with. You found a great choice for you, and I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing about and seeing the result. So good for you.
Yeah, it makes two of us, Joe.
Morty,
definitely.
We're gonna let you go. But
sounds good.
This is a lot of people. First of all, we told you not to get a fucking hair transplant. You ended up doing it, but you did, like Joe said, you took your time, you did your research, you got yourself to the point where you felt confident enough to pull the trigger because it's obviously something you really wanted. And you are, a man of a certain age now. So I think that you're probably in a very good position.
Well, thank you, Spencer. I'd like to think so. One thing I did want to ask you guys. So one of the other things that Dr. Cole did was he did an adjustment on my topical, and we added latanoprost, and latanoprost to the topical mix increased the price of what I was paying significantly. And I'm just to get a second opinion and a third opinion from both Spencer and you, Joe, what do you guys think about latanoprost, and is it worth the extra money?
I personally don't know enough about it as far as efficacy and seeing people that have used it and what they've experienced to make any sort of comment as far as.
Okay.
But I will say, if you're considering stopping it, I have big reservations about starting something around the time of surgery.
I agree with that. That's what I was going to say.
I have a big problem with that. Because you don't know how it's going to actually affect the outcome. And then if you stop taking it because you think it's too expensive 2 months in, how will that affect the outcome if it's affecting it to begin with? Right? So
fair enough.
I think that if you're thinking about stopping it at this point.
No. I just started it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when did you start? Like two months ago, surgery, or just like last week?
Literally, I got the stuff in at the beginning of this week, and I've been just using it for a week. So, and okay. I'm not going to stop it. I'm gonna do what any good patient does, which is I'm going to listen to my doctor.
Now you're actually talking about bimatoprost. You're talking basically Latisse, right?
Not bimatoprost, no, latanoprost.
Latanoprost. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm like Joe. I can't give you enough information on that. I'm going to look it up right now. But all I can say is I am not a fan of adding anything new
midstream,
ever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I think your attitude is correct as far as listening to your doctor.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Like I said, I mean, I understand what you guys are saying about, adding something midstream because it could potentially, it'll what's the word I'm looking for? It'll taint the results of the procedure. It might, bias the procedure to look better than it would have been. But you know what? With me, it's all like, hey man, if it looks good, it looks good. I've committed to myself. I made my own personal commitment. I'll do this for the next 6 months at least, and then see where we are. Obviously, I should probably do it for the full year just to give the end result from everything, and then kind of reevaluate at that point. It's not going to break me. Let's put it that way. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, more cost, but I can probably swing it. I just wanted you guys' opinion. If you don't have an opinion,
I'm taking a look at it now. Bimatoprost versus latanoprost, and essentially they're both originally for intraocular pressure. The glucose medications. I mean glaucoma medications.
Glaucoma medications.
Yeah, I don't know why one would be chosen over the other unless there seems to be some sort of a increased benefit for hair, because it does seem to be really similar as far as when I'm reading, as far as the intraocular pressure situation. But it may be something that these guys are finding out that's new. But just remember, and this is very important that everyone who's listening to this understand this. Morty is a guy who's taking a lot of time to do his research. This is still there's still always a experimental aspect to everything that's being done to patients in hair transplant surgeons' offices. And most patients don't understand that. So if you're being put on a medication that's being used off-label, if you're being put on something that's being compounded, again, either off-label or just straight compounded like topical finasteride, there's an experimental process involved. There's very little data out there that has been reproducible to show the efficacy or the long-term efficacy of any of these agents. And that's just a fact. And I just want people to know that, so. Yeah. But you are one of the best guinea pigs in the market right now. I'll tell you that.
Of course.
Yeah, I can tell you one other thing which may be of interest. So I did the tricho test, and that's the tricho test made the latanoprost recommendation.
Yeah. Interesting.
So if that means anything, yeah.
Well, it does. I mean, tricho tests were actually select technology contributors for this year's Global Hair Loss Summit. I will say that, I find it interesting that you were given tricho test by Dr. Cole, because I don't know if Dr. Cole, at least from what he voiced, I don't know if he's 100% sure if tricho test provides the most accurate results. But currently it's really what we have right now.
Yep.
I think
it's just another data point. you know?
From what I've seen, that it creates a lot of very interesting data points that I think most doctors should be utilizing. So I'm glad that he used it on you. All right, man.
Cool.
Good luck.
All right, guys. Listen, have a great night.
All right.
And I'll call you next week.
Great talking to you, man.
All right.
Take care.
Good hearing from you. Congratulations.
Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Same here,
Congratulations.
Joe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
It's like when you buy a car, you congratulate somebody. I never understood that. Like,
Drive it well.
I just bought a car. Why are you congratulating me? It's not some major feat. Took out a fucking loan like every other schmuck to get a car.
Yeah, but you don't think about that when you're driving it. You're enjoying it. So congratulations on the new toy.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
That's why I look at it.
888-659-3727. We have time for another call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Eddie.
Eddie. Hi, where are you calling from?
Hello, Eddie.
Houston. I've called you guys before, so
Hey, do me a favor. Speak into your microphone on your phone.
Oh, okay, is that better?
It's a little muffled.
Can you hear?
You sound a little muffled.
Okay, 1 second. What's going on here? Okay, what about now?
Much better.
Much better.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you just I heard you just mention that if I just had my surgery about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I've been taking a finasteride, or actually Proscar, and I've been cutting it up. And I was told that I could take oral minoxidil, but like you just said at the end, maybe I should just wait for the results before I had to.
How long have you been taking finasteride?
Proscar for maybe 3 years, 2 years at least.
I would not fuck with anything. You just had your hair transplant, what you said, 6 months ago?
No, 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago. Yeah, man. See how it grows in. You're obviously, are you doing okay on finasteride?
Yeah, I mean, I'm having probably what I would say the typical side effects were a decrease in fluid. My libido is not as hyper as it used to be. So I don't know if there's anything I can do about that.
Why was minoxidil even recommended at this point?
Actually, somebody else, another doctor had recommended it, and I brought it up with the doctor who just did my surgery, and I was like, I asked him what he thought about it. He said, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to start with 0.5 milligram.
Who did your surgery?
Dr. Wong.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but he didn't say like don't take it or take it. He was indifferent about it. So
yeah.
Dr. Wong in Vancouver.
The one and only.
And he said at 6 weeks you can add minoxidil if you want. It won't hurt anything.
He didn't say anything. He just said, sure, you can take it.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of surprised about that, but I mean, if that's what he said, that's what he said. My opinion on this is, I always go back to the basics. What's the risk of taking what's the risk to your native hair whenever you start a new medication that's designed to fight hair loss? You run the risk of initiating a telogen effluvium. A little shock effect from the medication. It's true with finasteride. It's true with minoxidil. It's true with dutasteride. It's true with laser caps. Anything that is intended to reverse the miniaturization process to extend the anagen cycle, it can actually induce a telogen cycle first. And in my opinion, you don't want to do that, especially right after surgery. If it were me, and trust me, I got access to everything I have for the past 20 years. I've never started something new in the middle of a recovery. If I'm going to start something new, I wait for that recovery to manifest into a final result before I decide to add something to it. And that's just my feeling, because I wouldn't want anything to make me feel worse about my recovery, because once you get to the 3 to 5 month point, you're going to start, like most people, I know this happened to me, you're going to start questioning, where's the hair? Like, I see some growth, but is this all there is? And if you have native hair to begin with that was placed where the grafts were placed in between, and some of that starts to shed from the medication, you're going to lose your damn mind. Like, what's going on? Like, you're already going to look worse probably now for the next couple months than you did before the surgery, depending on how much hair loss you had, due to maybe some temporary shock from the procedure itself. But then you throw another ingredient into the mix to where it can prolong that issue, that effect, simply because you're starting at 6 weeks, not at day one from the surgery. I don't know. I mean, there's a potential, I would think, to make it look even worse.
I got to tell you, Joe, I think he gets it.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to take it.
I think as soon as we said don't take it, he was not going to take it.
This is for the benefit of the other listeners that may not understand.
Yeah, look, we're doing a little show here. There's got to be some levity. We got to enjoy ourselves. That's part of what we do.
And so you're saying wait about how long?
I would, if you're asking me, I wouldn't do anything for at least a year. I probably wouldn't do anything for 2 years. Like, unless you're losing ground, like if you see a benefit from the hair transplant and you're doing well on finasteride, I probably wouldn't fuck with it at all.
Okay.
You know? Now, if you want to be greedy, and most people have hair greed, you know, then you wait a year and a half and see the full maturity of your hair transplant.
Yeah. Yeah, I can wait. I think that's a good plan, and because then I had some questions about the side effects and concerns, so I'll save it till I get to that point and see how things turn out.
Look, the less you can put into your body, and that goes for anything, but especially when it comes to your hair, the less you can put in or on your body to treat your hair loss effectively, the better. And you're already on finasteride. You said you're having some, minimal adverse effects, but obviously it's something you can live with, so that's good. There's no reason to fuck with anything. You just had surgery, so that's it. I think stay off the forums. That's another good piece of advice, and just enjoy your life and let your hair grow in.
Yeah, I'll stay with the status quo. This is my third surgery. It was a scar revision. It took Dr. Wong quite a long time to work on it, but I think the scar definitely looks better. I think I just got to wait, give it another month or two, just let it heal, let the redness go away. Every now and then I've had maybe a couple of pimples that I had to pop in the donor area. But I think it's looking good as far as the healing process. I just can't tell quite yet how many millimeters the scar is going to be this time, compared to what it was before.
How many procedures? This is your third?
This is my third, yeah.
And did you go to different doctors, or you always with Dr. Wong?
Yeah, the first two were Bosley.
Okay.
It was a really bad experience. I've mentioned it to you guys before. It was a really bad experience, and
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
He did. Yeah, thanks. I learned a lot from that experience, and watching you guys over the years that gave me the courage to go at it one more time, and rather than deal with all the mental suffering and psychological roller coaster ride I've had to go through, and I got to a place where I can, it was that peace that with where things are, and just to go for it. And I think I made a good choice. So it's just a matter of being patient. I just don't know, it's a roller coaster right now. It's like, okay, I'm just getting impatient at times, but then I'm like, okay, just calm down, just be patient, and go through the process. And
how old are you?
But they did a great job. I'm sorry.
How old are you?
I'm 50.
Okay.
Well, so yeah. I mean, they did a great job. But the staff was great. I compliment them, and they're very accommodating and respectful.
Yeah.
Well, in general, you can have and there are listen, Bosley has several offices. These guys are essentially independents that are working under Bosley's umbrella. At least that was the model, to my understanding, for a very long time. So every office is going to be slightly different. But in general, you're going to get a better experience with the physicians that are talked about through Joe and through this broadcast and everything we've been doing for the last 20 some odd years. So I'm glad.
I was pretty naive. Yeah, I was very naive at the time, and I mean, this is when I was this is over 6 years ago, I believe.
Dude, look at their marketing, and now they're marketing. They've upped their game in the last 5 years, Bosley. Their marketing is just like it's powerful. I could see you, especially younger guys, or even guys in their 40s, look at it and be like, when they have that, the guy from the 70s, the bald with the bald wig cap dancing and saying, this isn't your father's hair transplant. This isn't the 1970s. They make it seem like, holy shit, this is easy, $5,000, $500 off, this, that, and the other thing. It's like it's nothing. It's a walk in the fucking park. It's not even like it's surgery. And that is the secret to their success. And sadly, that is the way the industry has been bookended in a sense, or I should say, it's just the way that it's evolved based on that type of commoditized marketing, and it's fucked up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned that back when I called in the past, that to go talk to them and see what they were willing to do, or that they should actually maybe reimburse me, and I just couldn't do it, man. It was just too emotional. I couldn't talk to them. I was so upset.
I remember you now. I remember you now.
Yeah. I was like, you're the guy that I would tell you to stop interrupting me.
That's right.
Yeah, you remember?
I do.
I'm messing with you.
Well, listen. Sorry to cut you off. Now, listen. I am glad that you decided to help yourself. And not to stay in that negative space, because it's really fucking toxic for your life. And I hope that things work out. I'm pretty sure that you're probably going to be in a much better position, for sure, in the long run.
Yeah. And for those other people out there who are listening who just have had a bad experience, I mean, they're if you find the right doctor and you do your research, it's it's possible to at least minimize whatever damage you might have.
100%, and actually just live a normal life. Be able to go out there and feel comfortable in your own skin. That's the key.
Yeah, as normal as possible. Mine, I think, taking the right steps and just a matter of being patient. And the last, I would think I would probably need one more procedure where it wouldn't be FUT this time. It would be FUE.
Yeah.
To just fill in whatever's scar is still there that's visible, and then see whatever I can put on the front again. I think the doctor said they can get another 2,000 FUEs, but that's probably, I don't know if is that usually the case for somebody who's got a full, who's already done FUT?
It depends. It depends on what your scalp elasticity is, and what the physician believes he's going to be able to do with you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's down the road, so I'm not going to rush anything. We'll just.
Joe, did you want to say something?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I mean, it does depend. Like in my own case, after all the strips I've had,
Can I see the back of your hair, Joe?
I had
sorry
like
to interrupt you.
900 grafts with FUE, and then I got maybe another 500, 700 more.
Okay.
So what was that? You want to see the back?
Yeah, because look, your hair's so short. I don't know. Is it? Can people see the scar at all?
At that length, you can definitely see a little bit of a kind of a differential in thickness.
Okay, it's very, very small. You can, and plus you have light hair.
Well, also think about how many
Light skin.
fucking scars he has, or how many times they took meat out of the back of his head. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
No,
it's one
really
scar,
good.
but what you're also seeing is the change in the hair. Like I just had a haircut today, and so when she went up the back, she stopped right at the scar, and she didn't even realize that. I actually had to tell her I had a hair transplant using my translation app in Chinese because she doesn't speak English, and she had such a hard time believing it. But I showed her the scar, and she didn't understand the concept of an FUT strip surgery. But I just showed her my before picture and then this, and she, and then she calls over her friends. It's like it was a whole thing. But the side, you can see the difference in as I change it. I don't know if you can see that close, but you can see the change in direction.
Yeah. On the right side.
Above the scar, yeah. Well, both sides actually. Above the scar and below the scar. So when it grows longer, then it actually stands out a little bit above as opposed to below, and it's like this strange line, but it's hair. It's not the scar. And if you have just a few surgeries, it's not going to be such a big issue. Like you can probably. It also depends on how your hair direction changes around your head, but I've had 7 FUT surgeries. And this is the way it worked out on me. Most people that have 2, 3 surgeries, it's hardly going to make any difference. So,
but I will tell you. You're talking about that you have the Hitler Youth cut. I mean the Elon Musk cut.
Yeah.
When you see Elon, when he cut his hair as short as yours. That's when all the scuttlebutt came out online that they're talking about his hair transplant scars, and they are not insignificant. Even though I have to tell you, he has one of the best hair transplants ever. Just like you do, and that's just the reality. If you want to,
a lot of similarities between our surgeries. So
absolutely, from what I understand. But what I will tell you is that when you look at him. Even with the scar, you still think that guy made a good fucking decision for his life compared to what he looked like before the transplant.
Yeah.
100%. So, all right, man, listen, we're going to let you go. Joe, do you want to take one more call?
We can take a quick one, yeah.
Okay, Joe, give us permission to take a quick one. Good luck, man. Take care. Sorry to cut you off.
Good luck.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Take it easy. Bye. See ya. Joe Tillman is allowing us to take one quick phone call, but please, I think he's getting hangry. So,
I'm pretty hungry.
Please
keep it short.
Keep it short. Don't get Joseph upset. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? And where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Bruce calling from Houston.
Holy shit, Bruce.
Bruce!
How are you, man?
Man, I've been doing good. I just hadn't seen you guys around in a while. I guess y'all been pretty busy, huh?
We were pretty busy with the Global Hair Loss Summit, and then all of a sudden, Joe just disappeared.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, but we're back, man, with a vengeance.
Yeah.
On time, too. No, literally, on the dot. We were live.
Right. Well, no, my year came and passed on my surgery.
Oh.
And down here in Houston, and so remember my big concern was the stretch back, I guess, around. And I just noticed when you had showed your back, Joe, it kind of looks similar to that on the right and left, but probably I don't know if it's worse or not because I don't ever shave my hair down. So, but even at a 4, I mean, you can tell a little bit. Like there's a line there, and so I've been using Spencer's trick for a while, just doing some dermats, whatever, on some mornings when I have time. And but I thought about maybe later this year, because it's December made a year, maybe going up to Plano and visiting with Dr. Yakers, see what he thought about it, just to get his opinion, in person. And kind of go from there.
Why not? I mean, he's not going to talk you into surgery. He'll give you a thorough consultation, and this way, at least you come away with a little bit more information whether or not you want to move forward with anything. But I got to tell you, man, while the derm match could be a pain in the ass just because you have to apply it, it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then you were saying always, for a while there, I was doing it, and I was doing it by the instructions. But you told me one time to apply it dry.
Yeah. And how's that work?
Yeah. It works good. It works good because it's less messy and it's and just you have holding the mirror up on the back to use it, whatever. But yeah, when I do use that, it does work. It's just going to get a haircut, and stuff every time. It kind of like becomes a pain, But but other than that, I didn't. I just kind of knew from the beginning when it wasn't. Y'all kept saying, "Well, give it time, give it time." I just, when you know by what you see, you thinking, "Oh, I don't think so," but I was right. So,
well, you know what you know, and you're talking to two guys who don't have the opportunity to live in your skin and see what you see. But there are circumstances where if you do give it time, things resolve themselves. Unfortunately for you, it didn't. But how old are you now, Bruce?
I'm 55.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you remember, I would have never probably done it years ago. Remember, I was one of the guys like your previous caller. It was a Bosley thing in 1995.
Yeah.
So it kind of left me, well, you want to live out the rest of your, I'm at the point in my life like you probably, and Joe, where I've got more yesterdays than I do tomorrows, but,
speak for yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, but it's something, I still wanted to have something done to live out the retirement years, enjoy my life and travel, do some things. But, of course, they left me with no choice but to go back in and get some work done, So,
we've been working so hard over the last 20 some odd years to change this field. And I guess all we can do, sadly, is do what we do and have people who are just lucky enough to find what we do to at least get the information they need to make fully informed decisions. I've learned that no matter what we do, for every win that I've been able to, battle I've been able to win, there are 3 more fucking wars that I have to fight in this fucked up field. And it's just
whack-a-mole.
It's whack-a-mole, man, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I've resolved myself. Like I said, if you listen to the beginning of the show, we are going to make. I did make a decision to kind of go out there and be a little bit more prominent, which is, it's a pain in my ass. It really is. But I kind of just feel like I want to finish what I started. But you're lucky. You're lucky that you're 55. That's all I'm going to say, because the 22-year-olds that are falling into the same trap that you fell into or worse, they have a lifetime of misery ahead of them.
Yeah, and I've been watching you guys for several years now. So, we didn't have, in '95, that was way before the corner got turned.
Yeah,
and before people, I don't think you started till late '90s.
I started. I was published in 1998. I finished my book in 1997, but in '95 I was doing my research, and I was like, "Holy shit! There is absolutely a book in this, because this place is fucking insane." The most dangerous industry I've ever, especially in cosmetic surgery or anywhere that I ever witnessed. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I'm at the point in my life now, travel's not a problem. I can get on a plane, and the airfare's not a problem. I can go to Cooley, I can go wherever. I just thought I'd give this guy in Texas a shot because it's only about a 4 or 5 hour drive from down here. And, and I haven't been on your IHRS site, and God, I don't know, it's been maybe a year or so. I need to get back on there and look and see if y'all have some new guys. I'm sure y'all dropped some people and got some new people.
We dropped one guy, I think, that you used based on.
Yeah, y'all did, and I understand what that was about the anesthesia incident. I looked that up. I think I looked that up a year and a half ago after Joe had told me, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't too ethical, whatever, but.
Whatever it is, I just felt, and Joe felt, that it was just something that, look, everyone wants to get attention, but it was just, the whole concept of medicine it really is first do no harm, and if there's any chance of doing harm, then, and they're willing to take that chance publicly, especially, like something that we know about or I can see, it's game over, man. I don't care if I'm working with you for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I didn't understand it because of the marketing part of that, and from the standpoint of what are you expecting to do? Attract more people to do a similar procedure or surgery like that?
That's a good point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, what is your marketing view on that? I'm not a business person like you guys are, but it just doesn't make sense.
Let's put it this way. It was bad marketing. It was really bad marketing. It has nothing to do with this person's integrity and necessarily. I kind of feel that maybe he felt desperate or he saw an opportunity he didn't know how to turn down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a bad fucking move.
Yeah.
The problem with these kinds of situations, Bruce, is that when doctors see someone that's got a YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers, or in this case over 2 million subscribers, it's like a cat being hypnotized by shiny objects or laser beams. Like that's all they see. They're like, wow, okay, and they have this idea of exposure, but they're not thinking about what they're doing to get that exposure, and they're not thinking about. It seems like, and it's just not this particular case. I think it's something across the board where a lot of the doctors in this field, even ones that, for all intents and purposes, you think are on the up and up, like they're straight shooters, their eyes glaze over when these guys come to them, and all they can see are the numbers. And they're like, wow, exposure. That, man, everyone will really see us. But I don't think like that. It's like, yeah, everyone's going to see me, but what are they going to see? Like, how's it going to look to them? Like, if you're going to do something like that, you got to be able to put your best foot forward, not, stand there juggling while you're riding horseback. It's like, you got to be able to show that you know what you're doing, and you don't compromise anything. And unfortunately, in that case, that didn't happen. No one said no when they should have, which I don't think the right move. But yeah, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but
Well, hey, real quick, Joe, I was going to tell you, you mentioned earlier, you're telling these young guys, hey, you're never going to get that full head of hair, and I can, as a 55-year-old Joe and Spencer, I can tell you, you're completely true and accurate. My concern, I guess, when the Yaker can look at it and tell me, because I've had the 2 strips, whatever, and then so the FUE is really the correction that I need. And can they? I feel like I have that thick, coarse, curly hair, but if they go up on the tip or on the side, that's like virgin territory that's never been hit. So I didn't know if they can even go up in that area and go, yeah, okay. Because I've always mentioned that. I mentioned that this last time about doing FUE, and then of course, I guess COVID it was pretty rampant, and even the best sometimes, like you said, eyes get glazed over, and they want to move people in and out. I guess I don't know, but at the same time, it wasn't the right decision on either one of my part or his part. But I just didn't know if they could go up in that area too.
Well, listen, they can go up in that area, and the thing is, I mean, you have a greater chance of maintaining that hair if you still have it at 55, for the next 10 years. But what's going to happen at 75? Is agent alopecia going to diminish the appearance of that hair? You said that it's curly, so I mean that's a benefit to you. Or at 65 or 70, is it all of a sudden going to start to miniaturize from long-standing male pattern baldness that went to that area? If you're cool with it, that possibility, then fuck it. You are 55 years old. And look, you could pull a Bob Saget, not wake up tomorrow. Who the fuck knows?
Well, that was my point, Spence. I mean, you're fucking talking 20 years from now. Fuck. I mean, there's no good chance I ain't going to be here,
That's right. We don't know. I think about.
I still like to go out and drink margaritas.
I think about Bob Saget. That was crushing. And this guy's like one of the funniest dudes. I love this guy. He's on tour. He's all vaxxed up, ready to do the tour, having thinking about his jokes and what's going on. And he's probably hanging out that night and the day before, or when he came back from the club, thinking, "Man, that joke didn't land." Or he's worried about some shit, like everyone else is in life, and he just drops dead.
Right.
So I think we're both at a point now where we can make decisions pretty safely, knowing that we may not last that much longer.
Right. That's right. Hey, there was one thing I wanted to, just one more thing. Y'all, thanks for taking my call as the last guy. And, I just wanted to say that don't throw in the towel. Don't ever give. I like what you said earlier, Spencer, where you said, "Hey, I want to see the course through."
Yeah.
Because that recent video, I'll just throw a small example in there where Joe did on that Zipperhead, Greg Duchette or whatever his name is. When he went to Istanbul.
Yeah,
he's the squirrel. But anyway, that guy there runs his mouth nonstop all the time. Well, those guys got tons of followers, and if people, I don't get it, the stupidity or ignorance of people where they don't come to like this channel. We should have 20,000 people watching right now.
And we couldn't agree more.
We should.
And then these guys, and then
I have to say, I blame Joe for that.
Yeah, well, but I mean, don't. If it look, man, if you said it's getting worse every day or every year, if you guys ever ease up on the throttle, we're these young guys and everybody is completely screwed. I would have been screwed as an older guy, Yeah. I mean, you just can't just because the rest of us are just doing our own thing, working in our own field or career, or whatever, and we don't have that knowledge and wisdom that y'all do with it. And so I wouldn't back off of it. Even, I mean, look at it as your calling.
Well, I appreciate that, especially coming from someone who does what you do, and I want to thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much.
I'm just I'm a real advocate.
It's a tough deal in this field. What I do nowadays, especially, a couple of, and even it rolls into your personal life. A couple of marriages, a couple of this, that, you know what I mean. But that could be in anybody's field. But it just.
I just can't imagine anyone wanting to be a cop in this environment. I mean, I think the pendulum's swinging back to some degree, but I can't imagine any young person, or even the people that are, that were committed for a long time, moving forward with it, especially when you feel like you have no backup, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough deal. I mean, it seems like things are. The country is growing in population, and it's tough. Yeah.
But I have to say, not to make a comparison, what I do is completely different, but trust me, I have not only not had any backup, the industry itself, before cancel culture even existed, tried to cancel me. I'm talking about some nasty shit. I'm talking about even before online days with my radio stations. It was insane. So I'm gonna finish what we started, and I'm gonna make sure. I think we can blow up in the next year if we really make the right moves, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I remember y'all said something a long time ago. I've been watching several years now about how you got to watch as a patient how you pre-calculate how you articulate things, because there's a lot of doctors out there once trash talking or whatever, or just the criticism comes into play, then they won't have anything to do with you and blah, blah, blah. But hell, man, you got to speak up for something that you feel is wrong, you know, and I can't believe that all these years of litigation that Bosley hadn't even been like taken to court and people have won against them. I mean, because of but I mean, it's an elective deal, so I understand why that's the
deal.
loophole,
You guys are
I'm
signing
sure.
your lives away, essentially, you know, for
Yeah.
every possible complication. And trust me, they have been taken to court, and they have they have dealt with a lot of shit over the years.
Oh, wow.
And so have other physicians. You know, that's the nature of the game. But look, it's bad. All we can do is we are trying to do our best. I wish there were just more physicians who, when I speak to them on the phone, like there's one guy that I spoke to on the phone recently from Portland, is just like, look, you know, I just try to do what I do and do my best, and I don't really want to get into the politics and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like thinking, like, why don't you want to just fucking help people besides people who walk in your office after they've already been fucked up? Maybe you could do a little less repair work and do more virgin scalps if you open your mouth and kind of got behind what you're supposed to get behind, as opposed to just like being meek, standing in your own office and just saying, well, I'm doing my job with my patients, so I can't worry about what other people do. That's such bullshit. It's a cop-out to me, man.
Yeah.
It's weak.
Right.
It's not really.
You can always,
it's not very in line with the do no harm ethic, right?
Right.
It's like I deal with what I deal with. Well, yeah, you're also getting paid to, motherfucker. It's like put some good words out there just to protect the general public.
Yeah, but we don't want to get involved. You know, we don't want to put our names out there. We don't want to offend any of my colleagues. You know what? Fuck that.
Yeah. Well, if you could, you know, I guess the good part about it is that the listeners and callers, the people that are aware of you guys know, I mean, at least they know, I mean, y'all can tell them, you know, don't do this if you've never done it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I wish you could reach out to the guys that don't know y'all and say, hey, man, you'll end up, if you don't listen to us, you'll end up chasing a dream that'll never happen. In other words, you'll be chasing that hair cycle, wanting to get another one, and then 2 or 3 years later, go, oh, this don't look right, or this is wrong, and maybe if I go do this, it'll improve it, and I'll be happy, and, you know, all that, you know.
Look, everyone is out there. They're doing this surgery to make themselves happy. We all have that in common. We want to figure out whatever we can do in life to make ourselves happy, and to have better relationships, to feel more comfortable in our own skin, to potentially have better careers, all that stuff. The worst thing you can possibly do is jump the gun and pull the trigger on a surgery like this, because the level of unhappiness that it will cause is something that it's not a one in a million chance, like these young guys speak about on these internet forums and on these Facebook groups. It is at this stage, and this is not an exaggeration, at least through our resources, 7 out of 10 hair transplant patients range from being disappointed to disfigured in this market. That's 7 out of 10.
Wow.
That is 70%. Think about that. I believe to some degree they're unhappy with the decision they made. So that's what you have to think about. Bruce, listen.
I can tell you these young guys when they're 28, 29, like I was. I mean, it's hard to tell a guy like that because, you know, they haven't lived their life yet and they don't know. Yeah, but you know.
Well, listen, Bruce, we're going to let you go. I'm glad you sound well. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for contributing to the show, as always. And again, thanks for your service, bro.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Bruce.
Joe, I have to text somebody back. Why don't you give out the websites?
I will do that. The website, iahrs.org. It is a place I've used as a resource to send patients to find doctors that are a step above. It's not the end-all, be-all list of the best people in the world, but it is a safe place to start. And I can't say enough good things about it. The IAHRS.org. The Bald Truth, Bald Truth Talk. It is the forum that, you know, it's interesting. It it's probably it is the highest trafficked hair loss forum out there. And I don't know, it's still a forum. You got to be careful when you're dealing with forums because you just don't know who it is that's giving you advice, who it is that you're talking to, or who it is that you're reading, because everyone's using the anonymous handles. You just don't know who it is. That's baldtruthtalk.com. What else is there? There is American Hair Loss Association. That is the de facto standard as far as when it comes to mass media. When they're looking for reliable information and quotable information, they all turn to American Hair Loss Association. That's including GQ magazine, ABC News, Wall Street Journal, all the major media outlets. They all reference American Hair Loss Association. My own websites, hairtransplantmentor.com. It's the journey of my own personal experience through hair restoration surgery and dealing with hair loss. It goes all the way back to, 30 years. I think it's 30. I just realized, I think it's 30 years ago this year, I had my first hair transplant. I got to double check that. It might be next year. But yeah, you can see it all on hairtransplantmentor.com. You can also learn more about doctors that I work with. They are all IAHRS members as one of the baseline standard requirements that I need for consideration. But yeah, another great place to look for hair restoration options and good, solid information. And of course, right now on this channel, my YouTube channel, that is the Hair Transplant channel, the official YouTube channel for hairtransplantmentor.com, and home of The Bald Truth with Spencer Kobren and Joe Tillman. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. I think I heard Spencer come back in. You got a few final words?
I did. Don't forget the UK show. We are going to be back up and running again shortly. You can see some archives of the program at apetojgentleman.com. I also know that, at least I was told, I heard this through the grapevine, that the latest top 25 hair transplant surgeons in the world article is going to be back up for 2022. That should piss off a lot of people, I figure.
I look forward to this.
I just wish that these doctors be like, stop bugging me about it. I have nothing to do with this. I don't write. There's two Spencers in this field. There's Spencer Stevenson, who's the guy with the English accent, and then there's me. So when you're bitching about some list, like I just never forget this real prick from Ohio contacted me, and he's like, I don't understand why. What would make you separate 25 members of the IHRS from the rest of the membership and make the rest of us look like second-class citizens? I'm like, did you read the byline of the article? I have nothing to do with that shit. And he was like, oh,
the answer is no.
I guess I didn't do my due diligence. I better, essentially, put a call out to everybody that I complained to about you, Spencer.
You know what's funny about that? He didn't do his due diligence. That due diligence indicates a lot of research. What kind of what? You didn't do your due diligence? It's right there in black and white, right on the damn article that you're complaining about.
Yeah,
amazing.
I somehow, what I find interesting is somehow just because Spencer Stevenson chose to only pick out IHRS members for his list, that I had something to do with that shit. Most authorities in this field, or consumer advocates in this field, or people who really know anything in this field, are only going to recommend IHRS doctors, yo. That's the point. That's why we founded the IHRS 20 years ago. I mean, I was just like, look, man, what am I going to do? That's the nature of this industry. Somehow they feel if they're not on some sort of a list, it's a personal attack on, it diminishes. There's this sense of feast or famine in this industry, and if they are not part of something, or their name is not part of something, they feel like they're being diminished, as opposed to, hey, wait a second, we're all part of this. We're all part of this great organization, and every doctor that's on this is part of this great organization. It only benefits me because I'm part of this great organization. Doesn't work that way.
100%.
Bunch of big fucking babies.
That's awesome.
All right, guys.
Well done to Spencer Stevenson for this upcoming Top 25. I can't wait to read it myself.
He fucked everybody up. Anyway, until next time.
It's like, hang on. It's like getting you two confused. It's like people complaining to me because Joe Rogan's talking about the current situation going on. It's like it'd be the same thing as giving me a hard time over what he's saying just because we have the same first name.
Jesus.
We're not the same people. I'd love for that confusion to happen, by the way.
Yes, that would be great, actually.
I would be so down with that. That would be a great one. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
You were saying.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.